There are times when I just cannot resist touching sewing handiwork. The stitches are a feast for my fingers as well as my eyes. Have you noticed how one can create endless textures with fabric and thread? Today, we'll be sharing many techniques for creating beautiful dimensional stitches. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to my sewing room. I am so happy to have as my guest today Marinda Stewart. Marinda is a designer and she is the author of Punch Needle Embroidery, A Complete Guide. Marinda is also a representative of Rowenta Irons. Marinda, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Martha. It's a pleasure to be here. It's the first visit to your show.
And it will not be the last.
I certainly hope not. I certainly hope not. I've been treated very well.
Thank you.
Today we're going to do a pillow, and what I've done is I've brought you some textures that you can create requiring an iron in order to create them. We're going to be working on the pleated texture here, and we're going to be working on this puff texture in the center of the pillow. The rest of the sewing is pretty straightforward, so we're not going to mess with that.
Beautiful. I love your work, Marinda.
So there's the pillow. The first thing we're going to talk about is the pleating. You use a pleating board, and you cut your fabric. In this case, it's a 6-inch wide piece. And then what you do to use the pleating board is you lift up a louver and tuck in your fabric. And it helps if you have a straight edge to sort of snug that fabric down. This is going to be the wrong side of your pleating. Then in order to make the pleating easier to handle, once you've pleated it, I take my iron, and following the manufacturer's directions, you iron interfacing. Now my preference is to use an iron-on nylon tricot interfacing because it even with the fusing on it, it still keeps a nice soft hand.
Okay.
Then once that's done and set, you just roll your pleater.
Wow.
And your pleating comes out, and you end up with a pleated piece of fabric like we have here. And then that's cut in half and inset into the pillow. Now, if your pleating needs to be longer, you can seam it and tuck the seam in on the wrong side.
Fascinating.
So, and then when you're done, you just hit it again with your steam iron, and you have gorgeous pleats.
Absolutely
for insetting into anything.
Absolutely
yeah.
Fascinating.
Pleating boards are wonderful and handy. So, the other technique is much more fun and much more unusual. This is a new product that I discovered just a few weeks ago when I was at a wholesale market. And this, I'm not sure where the fabric is from, but I believe it's probably from Japan. It's a shrinking fabric.
Oh my goodness.
And it feels like really cheap, inexpensive lining or taffeta or something. It does not have a nice hand at all. But you take your fabric, your shrinking fabric, and it doesn't matter whether you draw a grid on it or whatever, you need to draw your pattern on it, or if you're a quilter, you can free motion quilt. I used my ruler and just with a pencil laid this out on the diagonal. Then once you've marked your fabric, you take your fashion fabric right side down. I added batting to this because my silk was so lightweight that I wanted a little extra puff and dimension. Then you put your fabric on top, your shrinking fabric, you pin it in place, and then you take it to your sewing machine and you stitch. And you stitch the entire grid or whatever the pattern is that you have. Then the magic happens.
Okay.
Now this is designed to shrink 30% in all directions.
You just steam. Oh my goodness.
And that's the nice thing about an
fabric.
iron that produces a lot of steam.
Oh, I love heavy steam irons.
And you
my
just
mother had
keep
loved that
steaming
for her
this.
laundry.
You keep
Look at that
steaming
steam.
it
Oh.
until there's no more movement.
Wow. And that's shrinking the batting and the silk dupioni.
It doesn't shrink the silk, and it doesn't shrink the batting. It shrinks the backing fabric only, so that when this is then turned over, that's what you get. And to me, this looks like pillow smocking.
Oh, it
with a
does
fraction
look
of the
like
work.
My goodness, it's beautiful. Magic.
It's magic. And so it's incredible shrinking fabric.
Incredible shrinking fabric.
And that's as simple as it is. Then the trick is that you need to cut this fabric, of course, larger than you want your finished project, because you're going to lose 30% of it when it puckers. Okay. So you always want to start with a piece that's much bigger than what you're going to need. But once the whole piece has been puckered, then you trim it to size and you can inset it in your pillow.
Oh, it's beautiful.
But you do need an iron and you do need steam. So that's the...
Now, would you show us that pillow again? Let's see that.
I'd be happy to show you the pillow.
Absolutely gorgeous. Put it right there and let
there we go.
Now you've got your pleats.
So this is your pleats right here.
Okay.
And then this is your puckered silk.
Your magic puffing.
Your magic puffing
pillow.
And this could have been a totally different pattern. It could have been stripes. It could have been flowers. It could have been circles. It could have been anything I wanted to do. But I thought that the grid would show up best on camera. And then it's just a matter of stacking this up.
Did you dye your lace?
No, actually I found my lace that color.
Okay.
So it goes from light to dark, and I just stacked lace and trim and pleating and trim and ribbon and beads, because I believe that anything is better with sparkle.
Oh, me too, and beads.
Right.
Gypsy Rose Lee, right? Yes. Marinda, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And now Marinda has some wonderful sewing inspirations to share with you. Oh, Marinda, this punch needle is so beautiful. Show us your things.
Thank you. I brought some things for inspiration. This is a Christmas ornament that's all done with one strand punch needle. And the thing about that makes it relevant to the segment that we've done is that I've made my own iron-on embroidery transfer.
Oh, my goodness.
Using an iron-on embroidery transfer pencil, you can do that.
And now listen, this fan is completely exquisite. I love the asymmetrical shape.
Thank you.
And this is all just your punch needle too?
Mm-hmm. It's all, this is three-strand punch needle with multiple threads in the needle, and metallics are mixed into it.
Joe used to have peacocks in our backyard.
You're kidding.
Oh, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. And I'm very fond of
They screech to beat the band.
They screech. Joe can make a wonderful peacock noise. Now show us those other beautiful things.
Well, I brought the original embroidery from the project that I did, and to show you, this has got beads combined with it and French knots, traditional sewing techniques, as well as the punch needle. And to show you what I mean by making my own embroidery transfer, I have this here. And this is a different ornament, and this is my embroidery transfer that I've made with a transfer pencil, and this is a piece of fabric that has yet to be worked, and the embroidery transfer just goes on top, and following the manufacturer's directions, you iron it on for the necessary time.
Iron on the design, and you don't put it in a hoop?
You put it in a hoop, and then you do the punch needle.
About how long will something like that take, Marinda?
This is surprisingly fast, because I've allowed the brocade fabric in the background to do a lot of the work. Even though this is one strand, I would say there's probably a weekend's worth of work in this.
Oh, how beautiful.
I
had no idea.
For a handmade ornament, that's not a lot of time.
Absolutely, absolutely.
A couple of evenings.
Thank you so very much.
You're so very welcome.
It's just beautiful.
Thank you so much.
And now we have a So Easy project for you. I'm so happy to have as my guest today Sheila McNeeley. Sheila is the General Manager for Floriani Products, which is a division of R&K Distributing. Sheila, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Martha.
Can't wait to talk about perfect machine embroidery every time.
Yes, ma'am. And what we want to talk about today is baby items, things that we're stitching for gifts to give someone, a new mother, or maybe you have a little one that you want to stitch for, and we have some things to help you work out the bugs in those embroideries.
Okay.
And the first thing we want to talk about is a lot of baby items are lined, and so then you have 2 layers to combat that you're trying to stabilize instead of 1. So in this case, what I recommend to do, you can see these 2 little pieces, they have lining on the inside. So what we're trying to show you to do is to tack that down. Build a grid. Use water-soluble thread, and I've used dark thread here so that you can see the stitching, but stitch a grid line, a grid pattern, so that those two fabrics are held together. And once you have that stitched together, then you're going to take that to your hoop. And here we're using a sticky tearaway so that it can hold the garment in place and doesn't move. And all we want to do is just peel this back, tear the paper away, and then we're going to stick the garment down. And you can see how well this little bear has stitched without any movement or anything like that. Now the next thing we want to talk about is knits. That's the big thing. Babies wear lots of knits and those type things, and knits are one of the hardest things for us to stitch. So we're going to use a cutaway fusible, iron that on, and then we're going to hoop the garment and use our templates to show us where to stitch. We always want to use a topping so that the stitching stays to the top of the garment. And you can see how when you do so, you have beautiful embroidery every time.
And do you use any particular type of topping, a wash away or an iron away, or?
Mostly on baby things, I would use a wash away.
Wash away,
and
okay.
That way it washes away when it's laundered. And then also when you're finished, use a press cloth, and you want to use lots of steam to put the press cloth over it, steam it. It helps the water soluble go away, and then it brings the embroidery thread to the top surface for beautiful embroidery every time.
Oh, Sheila, thank you so much for these wonderful machine embroidery tricks, some machine embroidery that we all love to do. And now I have a wonderful sewing accessory idea for you. These little scissors holders are such a treat. I can't wait for you to see how pretty they are and how easy they are to make. Do you see the little scissor case? And I have the little kindergarten scissors here with the blunt points I just love that are housed right here. And then here's a little pin cushion. And then here's another version in the bright orange silk dupioni, bright peach I guess I should say, with the scissors in here and a little pin cushion and these wonderful little trims, and of course a ribbon to go around your neck. Very, very, very easy to make. All right, the first one, the little peach one, first of all, we're going to make the little pin cushion, this part right here. I'm going to have a piece of fabric. I'm going to sew down one side and down the other. Do not sew the ends. Turn it right side out, which is what you see I have done here, raw ends. Then I'm going to fold it over, sew it again on those raw ends, and then I'm going to turn it raw edges. I want to turn it right side out, where the raw edge seam is right there in the middle. Then I'm going to take a little piece of ribbon, put it in one side, and I'm going to zigzag that one side closed. Then I'm going to zigzag, and you know what? I think to use monofilament thread, the clear see-through thread would be great on all of this. I'm going to zigzag the other side, and then it's very, very easy to come in and butt the little trim on the outside and just straight stitch with the monofilament thread. And now we have our little elegant pin cushion. Let's see how easy it is to make the scissor case. I'm going to lay the scissor case out for you to see right here. We have the scissor case with scissors that just dropped out and the little ribbon that goes around your neck. All right, once again, get two pieces, straight stitch down one side, straight stitch down the other one. Turn it right side out as I've done here. Remember, you have two raw edges. Okay, I'm going to bring these raw edges up, straight stitch them, turn it right side out. Then I fold it once again in half. Now I'm going to put a little piece of batting in between, in the top part of this. All right, I'm now ready to it's beginning to look a little like a scissor case. I'm going to stitch a little stitch in the top, which will be the casing I'm going to run my ribbon through. Then I'm going to have the batting in, and then I'm going to fold it up, not all the way. You remember, I want to be sure I leave a little pocket so I'll be able to put my scissors down in it. So we have the casing, which is at the top, which I'll run my ribbon through in just a minute. I fold it up, and I bet you can already guess what we're going to do. Zigzag one side, Then then stick the little ribbon in, zigzag the other side, and the little ribbon, by the way, is the ribbon on the little pin cushion. And then, remember I zigzag just partially, and I'm ready to put my scissors in. And then I'm going to once again have my trim, this pretty little trim. Now I'm going to straight stitch with the monofilament thread all the way around, and then I'm going to get out my hand sewing needle and just quickly whip. Just whip that across the top. And then I have an adorable scissor case. As a matter of fact, I think what I'm going to do, scissor holder, I'm just going to slip this on my head, put it on, and then I am all ready to do my sewing. I have a few pins here. I'm ready to do my sewing. And I have a wonderful little scissor case. I'm just ready to sit in my den and do sewing. You know what? I love to smock, especially just sitting in the den. This is the well, I don't guess I need any pins for smocking, but I sure could use my scissors. And now I have some hand embroidery for you. I'm so happy to have as my guest today Beverley Sheldrick from New Zealand. Beverley is a world-renowned embroiderer. She is a teacher at the Martha Pullen School of Art Fashion, and she is the teacher on 2 brand new DVDs all about silk ribbon embroidery. Beverley, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Martha. It's always wonderful to be here. Now, Martha, today I'd like to show you these very lovely, I call them fluffy roses, but gathered roses, it doesn't really matter, but it is a particularly lovely rose. It takes just a little bit more effort than some of them, but the effort I think is well worthwhile. Now, Martha, we'll just quickly look at them here. You will see that I have started with 3 little French knots, which are tightly, they're hugging each other there. Then you will see I've got a piece of silk ribbon here which I have brought up right beside those French knots, and you'll also see I have a piece of machine thread there. I've used a good strong colour to make it easier for everybody to see. I wouldn't normally use one of that colour. Now here you can see how it's been pleated all the way around there. Not sure whether you can just see that machine thread there, and here you can see how I've actually gone round twice. You can make these as big or as small as you want to, and I've left the needle there because what I wanted the viewers to see there is how when I go to finish it, I just take the needle in and it goes in behind there like that. So how do we do it? Very easily. You will see here that I have my, I'm not going to put in all 3 of those French knots, but it is just a little tight French knot there, and they will all just be cuddling up to each other nice and snugly. We'll put that over there. Now you can see here, as I showed you up above here, I've got the ribbon has come up there, and I've got this bright green thread here. Now this is the one that's going to do all the work. Now we're going to put that out in front of us like that. And I'm just going to show you that I'm going to actually pick that up with the green thread like that, and I'm going to bring it back to there like that, and then I will take the needle through like that. Now you can see I've got one here that I've got it started. Now what you need to know, viewers, at this point is it's very important to keep turning your hoop or your work, however you're working, and keep the ribbon out in front of you. It just seems to make it easier when you come to pick up this little piece like this, and we're just going to pick it up and bring it back to there like that. So I'll just take that to the back. I'm then going to bring my needle up again, and I'm moving forward approximately a 1/16 of an inch. So you can see how I've turned this round. I've got my thread going out in front of me there, and I've brought this machine thread through in front like that. So once more I'm going to just pick that up and bring it back like that and take it through. Now on this one here, we'll just get that out of our way. You will see here that I've gone all the way round like that. You can see how I've gone completely all the way round, and I can do one of two things. I can either pop my needle in through there and go to the back and finish it, or I can continue to making those little gathers all the way round. Now if I want to do that, then what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to just pick it up with the green thread like this, and I will continue, and I'm just going to slide this across because I want you to see the positioning of it. Can you just see how I'm putting it approximately halfway between there where the previous lot of stitches were and to the outer edge of there, and then I will just continue going round all the way until I've got it to the size that I want it to be. And you will remember that earlier on I showed you when I've got it to the size that I want, I'm just pushing that needle in through there and it is finished. Just like
Beverley,
that.
How beautiful. How many years have you been stitching silk ribbon embroidery?
Well, Martha, probably longer than I care to
Probably
remember.
longer than you care, most of your
Probably
life. When you were a little girl, did you start?
No, probably for about 25 years, I guess.
Oh my goodness.
A long time.
That's exciting. I thought you'd been doing it a long time. And now I have a piece to share with you from my vintage collection. I received a phone call recently from a lady that said, Martha, I have some beautiful family things. No one in my family will want them, and I want you to have them. And she also said, now they're pretty dirty and have some stains. I said, oh, don't worry. I can get the stains out. And I told her how deeply I would appreciate having her beautiful things, and she said they're on their way to you. This blouse was among them. Now, it did need a little cleaning up and a little tender loving care, but isn't it gorgeous? It has the high collar, and then beautiful lace work that comes down into a V. And then look, the bottom piece of lace comes around. Once again, joins the outside piece. Again, the bottom piece comes around. And then there is something real interesting. A beautiful, I think it's a Swiss piece with the little wing needle entredeaux in there and flowers on top of it. The same on the other side. This would have been an inserted piece purchased from Switzerland. And then there's a little crochet, little crocheted circles. And I want you to look at these exquisite tucks, the release tucks, all the way across the front of the bodice are some of the most beautiful details I've ever seen. Now, I'm going to pull this sleeve over here so you can see the beauty of the sleeve. It has a loop of lace, the release tucks, and then look at the bottom beneath the loop. More release tucks that hold the fullness of the sleeve. And then, are you ready for this? Another piece of that beautiful Swiss embroidery has been inserted on the cuff with lace above and below and little gathered lace. Now when we come on down on the blouse, you can see the miters and the V. Okay, you've just seen the front. Let me have the fun of showing you the back. Again, the beautiful collar and the tucks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the tucks and the laces, and I love to show people these precious buttons. I think these were purchase buttons. It almost looks like it's crocheted on the top of them. I think you could buy these on cards, but the buttons are still on the blouse, which is just a treasure to me. Anyway, then the blouse comes down. You can see she had a small waist because she kind of pinched this in a little bit so it wouldn't be so big. Thank you so much for joining me today in my sewing room. I hope you've had fun. And now I would like to invite you to come back next time.